Hey everyone, welcome to the Small Screen Couch Commentary Podcast, where we watch your favorite TV shows, give you our thoughts, and ask for yours. I'm Alex.
And I'm Billy. We're excited to watch and rewatch the best TV shows from start to finish and hope you're ready to take the ride along with us.
We'll talk about the best characters and their stories, reveal some hidden gems, and look for you to do the same.
From sci-fi to comedy, drama to anime, we've got it all covered. So grab your favorite snack and we'll see you on the couch.
All right. Welcome everybody to the Small Screen Couch Commentary Podcast, the Boys Edition. This is our first episode that we're kicking off for things, and I'm excited.
Me too.
This is something that we've been working on for a little bit, and we both have been involved in podcasting in one way or another for a number of years, but this is our latest project that we're working on, and we're happy to be bringing this to you guys in hopes that you will enjoy some great TV with us. And we're starting off with a banger of a show, which I never watched, but you're caught up.
All caught up. I started watching during COVID, which I don't know if that was season 1 or season 2, because I remember I watched a bunch of episodes.
Season 1 came out July of 2019.
I want to say I probably started when season 2 started to premiere.
Right.
So I probably got all caught up on season 1.
Right.
And then stayed live with season 2, because season 2 is when they started doing weekly, because I was watching it weekly at one point.
Well, so yeah, our project here, what we're trying to do is we want to get all caught up with everything on The Boys. Obviously, I'm going to be watching it for the first time. Billy's watching it again, but we want to get all caught up before the new season of The Boys premieres at some point this year. It's season 4. They haven't given us a release date. Some people are speculating it'll be summertime or somewhere thereabouts. But yeah, so season 1, when it came out, it was your typical streaming release. All the episodes dropped at once, and that was it. But after that, as more of the streaming services started going back to episodic releases, I think seasons 2 and 3, they might have released a couple episodes to begin with, and then week to week after that.
Yeah.
I'll
give Amazon credit. They do at least 2 episodes usually for all their episodes, like shows
to start off.
So
right.
It's like you get a little bit of that binge feel, and you're like, oh, now I gotta wait. But at least get 2 episodes of it. Usually, most shows do that for Amazon.
I mean, honestly, I'm okay with episodic releases. It gives you something to look forward to. It builds up some anticipation. I do like binging a show. If it's something that I'm like mildly into, I'd rather just binge it.
Yeah.
If it's something that I'm like invested in, I'm okay with episodic releases week to week. But you know, that's just me.
Yeah, if I like it that much, I'm willing to risk watching it week to week. I'd rather binge, but if I like it as much as like The Boys, for example, I love this show. So I definitely, when it came out, I would watch it that night that it came out.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's get into things. Episode 1 of season 1 is called The Name of the Game. All of the episodes for season 1 premiered again on July 26th. This episode was directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who at that point was most notable for 10 Cloverfield Lane. Great movie. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. Written by Eric Kripke.
My boy.
And he wrote all of the episodes in season 1, I believe. And his notable work is another one of your favorite shows.
Might be my favorite show overall.
Really? That high?
Supernatural,
okay.
Yeah. I think, I would say it might be number 1 in my heart. Just because of how I watched it from day 1 up until the final day, where I shed many tears.
Hey, emotions are okay to show.
Also, a good show to watch by Eric Kripke, Revolution. It was on NBC, only for 2 seasons, got canceled. Shouldn't have been canceled. But it's like all electricity goes out in the world, and what's the world like there?
Huh. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Another one I missed, but maybe we'll have to cover it at some point. So one of the things we want to touch on quick is obviously when you're watching a show, you're sitting down on the couch, you're hanging out, you're probably snacking on something. And for me, while watching this first episode, I went with a classic. I went with good old potato chips, kettle cooked potato chips, by the way, not regular.
Oh, good old.
What were you snacking on?
I kind of was in your field. I had some potato chips on the plate.
Okay.
I had a turkey and cheese sandwich.
Hey, I like
potato chips, and I just had a good old lunch while watching.
Did you put the chips in the sandwich?
I only do that if I'm making a bologna and cheese sandwich.
Okay. Respect.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah.
So if you don't already know by now, massive spoilers incoming. If you haven't watched the show, go back, watch it, come back and listen. If you have watched the show and maybe haven't watched it in a while, go back, watch it, come back and listen, or just stick around, whatever you want. If you're okay with spoilers, just giving you your fair warning right now. Boom, spoilers ahead.
Here they come.
I want to start off with the rating that I gave the show.
Talk.
And I usually try to rate on a 10 scale. 5 I feel is just too narrow.
Too broad.
Whoa.
Too narrow.
I think it's too narrow.
Well, I think you're more accurate with a 10 scale.
Right.
Plus, we're doing decimal points. I feel like because
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not doing decimal points when you're rating,
what are
you're
doing?
an amateur.
Yeah.
You're an amateur.
Yeah. Which we are, but we're doing decimal points anyway.
True. But so and I might catch some heat for this. I want to preface this by saying I liked the show a lot. I thought it was great. I definitely want to watch more. I'm excited for what comes next. I only gave it a 7.9. And let me just say, that's a good rating in my book, 7.9. Because obviously, on a 10 scale, as with many ratings in life, 10's, near impossible. 10 is like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So 7.9, it's almost an 8. And I'll get into why I didn't give it an 8 or higher, or keep it in that realm. But for me, it was a 7.9. What'd you give it?
I give it an 8.0.
Okay.
Spot on 8.
So, okay, not too
far
much
off. And that's why I'm not
lower.
going to give you too much heat. I feel like just having that 7 in there makes it look bad.
It does. It makes it look bad, but it's not.
It's not. And I honestly,
I'm a harsh critic.
I really enjoyed the first episode show the first time around, and I really enjoyed it the second time around.
Nice.
So, I mean, that's a B. I'm doing great.
Yeah.
If I get 80% on the test, I'm okay.
For sure.
We're good.
For sure. I don't know. I just for me, I feel like 7.9 is a good rating, and I think it gives my expectations room to grow. I don't want to start off up here and then be let down. I don't know what's coming next. I've heard nothing but good things from The Boys. It's obviously a smash success for Amazon because they keep making more of it.
Oh yeah.
But
They're in Call of Duty. They got characters in Call of Duty.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So
is it just Homelander or are there more people?
Homelander, Starlight, Black Noir, and
wow.
A-Train.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So they're penetrating into other media. So let's go over the characters quick that we meet in this first episode. Obviously, we meet the superheroes first as being the most important. We meet Homelander and Queen Maeve first.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're and let's just talk about them quick. Homelander, he's the Superman clone, essentially.
Yeah.
He's, their big bad dude that is flying around, super strength, super speed, laser vision. He's Superman in this universe.
And he's Mr. Perfect.
Yeah.
And everybody's eyes, and they even kind of they try to show it through, make you seem like you think he's Mr. Perfect, but you have a bad feeling as well.
Right. Then there's Queen Maeve. She's essentially Wonder Woman in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they even, I don't want to say they straight up copied Superman and Wonder Woman, but they look very close.
Pretty damn close. Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah.
Then we also meet Huey and his girlfriend Robin. Huey, while I wouldn't say anyone in the show is a main character, for me so far, in my perception, this first episode, Huey's like the main guy. Everyone's kind of just around him and involving him, but Huey's the main guy, in my opinion.
Right.
We meet A-Train, who is another superhero. We meet Starlight, who is another superhero. And A-Train, he's like the Flash, essentially. Super fast. Honestly, I'd maybe liken him a little bit more to Quicksilver
because he's blue.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a speedster.
Yeah, that's basically Flasher, Quicksilver. He plays a really big role in this first episode.
Yeah.
Sure.
Starlight, I don't know who I would compare her to.
I don't know. I was thinking
maybe like Dazzler or Jubilee.
I was thinking here,
but not really.
I went a little crazy, and I was like Storm, but with electricity. But that's because I've also seen.
I'm sorry. Did you say Starlight is like Storm, but with electricity?
Yeah, only electricity.
Okay, I was gonna say because Storm has electricity, bro.
Yeah, but I'm saying like this is just straight up like electronics.
Okay, all right, okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
But like I get the vibe because her eyes glow and shit like that. Yeah.
We meet Hugh Campbell, who is Huey's dad.
Freaking asshole.
Well, I mean, we'll get into that a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Madeline Stillwell, who is kind of like the face of Vought, the company that
Owns
it's kind of
superheroes.
Oh yeah, pretty much
Owns the rights.
superheroes, right?
Also, fun fact, I don't know if you knew this, she was the girlfriend in Karate Kid,
In
the
like
original one.
Daniel's. Wow,
Yeah.
I don't think I did know that. I mean, I've
She's
seen
in Cobra
Karate
Kai.
Kid, but yes,
Yes.
okay. Then there's the Deep, who is essentially like their Aquaman type guy.
Yeah. And now you want to talk about copying outfits.
Yeah, I
This
feel
is
like,
pretty damn close.
and I'm trying to think. I'm assuming, yeah. At this point, Aquaman, like the movie, was already out for a while. The Jason Momoa one,
I think so. I
Yeah.
don't remember.
but like I feel like it's very, very close to the Jason Momoa Aquaman like suit.
yeah. No, he's not as buff as Jason
No,
Momoa.
no, not
but
as buff, not as big, but like his
Still strong dude.
costume. You know, it's I feel like he's got like green pants and like a bronzish, goldish like top. Anyway, we meet Translucent, who is just an invisible guy. I'm trying to, picture a Marvel or DC
What's her name
invisible
from
type
Fantastic
person.
Four would be
Miss Fantastic.
Yeah,
Sue Storm.
Sue Storm.
Yeah.
However, he has some other abilities, which is like pretty tough skin.
Yeah.
Which we find out much later. Well, not much later, but later.
Right. Then there's Black Noir, which we don't really get a whole lot of Black Noir
You won't.
in the episode.
Yeah, Black Noir. He's a funny character in a way.
I think he's literally only in one scene.
He's in the scene at the table, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
He doesn't talk. He's like just a
He just
really
sits there,
strong,
yeah.
talented assassin / ninja.
Okay.
That's his like power, I guess.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, whenever he's in a scene, I just laugh. I don't know why.
Then we don't actually meet him, but they mention Lamplighter. Now, obviously, stuff going on ahead of time. I don't know if he plays any relevant part in the show after this, but you don't see Lamplighter. They mention him. I think they flash him on screen a few times.
They have like a memorial ceremony,
Yeah.
kind of at like a business meeting, but they go, "Oh, remembering Lamplighter," and he's in the background.
Yeah.
I think they even show who the actor is.
I don't know if they do. I can't remember. I
Okay,
don't
then
think
I'm not going to tell you who the actor is.
Yeah.
in case
I
they
want
don't.
to be surprised.
Yeah, I can't remember if they did or not.
And then last but certainly not least,
One of my top characters on the show,
Billy Butcher, played by Carl Urban.
named after me. Yeah. Fun
Maybe. Who
Yeah.
knows? I don't know. But yeah, so a decent handful of new characters. Well, I mean, everybody's new since it's, first episode.
Shocking.
But a decent handful of characters that you get to meet. And a lot of stuff that happens in this first even few, like 5 or 10 minutes of the show.
This show is wild.
Yeah.
And I don't think the show ever really slows down. It has important storyline episodes.
Sure.
But the show in general overall just doesn't slow down.
Right. Okay. So I kind of want to just go through things piece by piece, pick up some important parts of the show, and then just discuss it. Give our thoughts, give our opinions, maybe discuss some details that we think are interesting. The show opens up, like before the show actually starts, it's almost like the opening to like a superhero Marvel DC type movie. It has kind of just like the fanfare going on, and it shows the 7 across the screen there.
The music sounds very familiar to Marvel.
Yeah.
They have, I think, comic books or something like plastering against the screen to make.
Yeah. So like
the way
it's
the
like a
old Marvel
mosaic.
stuff did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's almost like the show is starting off like a movie. But then it opens up with an attempted armored car robbery, which is stopped by Queen Maeve and Homelander.
Yeah, this scene's pretty fun. I think it's a great way to start the show off because the two kids that are in the beginning of the show, they're talking about their favorite superheroes, but they're like having some weird conversation. They're like, they're like, how would he win? Well, he just rip his dick off. And they're like, wait, what? Like, why are these kids talking like that?
If you don't know by the first 30 seconds of the show that this is not a family friendly show,
you'll know.
You'll figure it out.
You'll find out real quick. So yeah, you get that opening, which is just hilarious to me. And you're like, what the heck? These kids are like, I just want to win by ripping his dick off. And then I think he's talking about Translucent, who's invisible. And it's like, how will he see his dick?
Yeah.
So it makes you laugh, and you kind of get an idea this is going to be like funny, but then it hits action really well too.
Right.
With the bank robbery.
Yeah, and I mean, so this armored car is driving away from the crime scene, obviously, where they stole it. And then it's about to hit these kids. Queen Maeve, superhero landing right in front of the kids. The armored car hits her, and they do this crazy CGI, just effect where they essentially show the armored car moving through her.
Yeah.
Or not through her. She's moving
Around
through the
her,
armored
yeah.
car.
It's
It's
like-
moving around her.
And it's like crumpling. Like
Yeah. So pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Somehow these armored car robbers survive this ridiculous car crash that would have murdered anyone else.
They stop on a dime
Yeah.
when she
yeah.
lands in front of the car, like a dime. And so they come out and they get the kids.
Yeah. One of them holds the kid hostage. Homelander comes out, laser visions his gun. I think it either like melts his gun to his hand or severely burns his hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, they save the day. Crazy opening to everything.
And there's a really fun part here where Homelander throws one of the guys and he starts talking to the kids like all nonchalant. And I don't know if you noticed it, but the guy in the background, like 5 seconds after being thrown in the air, lands on top of a car like a block away.
No.
Freaking hilarious.
I had to go back and rewatch that then.
Yeah.
I don't think I noticed that. It's funny, like, obviously you in your situation, you're watching this again,
Right.
and me for the first time, I'm going to maybe miss some of those details, whereas you're going to pick some of them up.
Yeah,
so.
because when you first watch it, obviously you're focusing on these main characters. But yeah, he throws this guy, and he throws it with ease. He throws
Okay.
the guy with ease. But yeah, he's a block away, landing on a car. I think you can hear in the background like a little and then
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So right after that, then we get introduced to Huey. He works at an electronics store. He's just a very mild, shy type guy. You can tell from his
Way to put it.
personality.
Yeah.
You can tell from his personality he's non-confrontational because as he's working in the store, his boss is there. And you can tell he wants to have what seems like an important conversation with his boss. Honestly, I initially thought he was going to be telling him he's quitting. But he doesn't even get to talk to his boss because his boss cuts him off and says, we'll talk about it, some other time.
He pretty much just says, "Get the hell away from me, kid."
Yeah,
like
yeah,
something along
basically.
those lines. And what I like is like you really get the vibe of how non-confrontational Huey is because he goes, "All right, yeah, cool, like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, like whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It's cool." You know?
But yeah, Huey, he's just in some ways reminds me of myself. I'm very much like at a restaurant, the type of guy that like if something comes out with my food and there's something wrong with it, I'm just like, I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to send it back. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to make a big deal. So in that way, I kind of saw a little bit of myself in Huey.
Oh, same. I agree. I will give Huey credit. Great salesman. He was making a sale
Yeah.
in the opening of the scene. It was great.
Right.
Phenomenal guy.
Right. Shortly after that, though, his girlfriend Robin comes into the store, and they're sitting there talking a little bit. They decide to go on a little bit of a walk, and they're walking down the street. They're just talking about their relationship, talking about what they have going on in their lives. Robin, I think she's in college, right? She's taking classes. She obviously wants to better herself. Huey is obviously just working, and I think she kind of helps him to see that he should be doing more. He should be wanting more. He should have some ambition. And they even get to the point where they start talking about moving in together.
Yep.
Which we don't know how long they've been in a relationship at this point, but that's a pretty big step in a relationship.
Yeah, and I think it makes you go like you have this like, oh, that sweet moment because in most shows, the cliche thing to do here is this sparks an argument or a very
Right.
intense conversation.
Yeah.
And basically what happens is he just gets really excited.
Yeah.
And they end up kissing like because of it. And it's like really sweet and you're like, "Oh, this is a good couple. Like I hope they last, you know?"
Yeah. And so when they are talking about moving in together, they kiss. Robin is standing
Half a step off the curb.
half a step off the curb. Very important detail.
Yeah.
Because it comes up multiple times in this episode. But as she's half a step off the curb, the scene just slows down and she disappears. Just you're thinking, did she just get abducted by aliens? Was there magic? Is this part of Huey's imagination? Like, what's going on?
Mhm.
And as the scene slows down and she's gone, all of a sudden you just start to see
In slow-mo.
in slow motion this red liquid come across the screen towards Huey. And you realize then it's blood. And it starts to hit Huey in the face in slow motion. And you're seeing this and you're thinking, what the heck is going on? And then eventually it comes back to normal speed. Huey is splattered, covered in blood, and he looks over and sees A-Train.
Well, I think a great detail for this show is in slow-mo, he looks to the right, and you just see a huge
Oh, yes.
blob of blood floating in
Yeah.
the air.
There's
Then it
blood,
goes
there's...
to normal speed, and it just goes...
And I think I even realized at one point in the blob of blood and flesh and everything,
Body
there's
parts.
like a jawbone there.
CGI really on this show is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to normal speed is when all of the blood and the blob and everything like kind of hits Huey and then falls down. And he sees A-Train, who's the Quicksilver Flash speedster type guy. He's obviously covered in blood.
Mm-hmm.
He's carrying a bag and he's just pantsing. Obviously, if you're running at super speed, fast enough to obliterate somebody, you'd be pretty tired too.
Yeah.
But he's just...
He's like, I got to keep going or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, I can't stop moving. I got to keep going. I got to keep moving. So, yeah, he speeds away, and they cut back to Huey, who is kind of not even really realizing what just happened. He's in shock.
Yeah.
And...
I think he yells Robin.
Yeah.
Once it hits, his face changes. So
Right.
Good acting by Jack Quaid.
Right.
Just freaking like, he's confused, and then all of a sudden, once it hits, it's like, oh my God.
And then they go to a great shot, an overhead shot,
Yeah.
where when they were kissing, they were holding hands. And they go to this shot now after all of this has happened, and he's still holding her hands. Like it's her hands and her forearms
And
are
that's all
still
there is.
there.
Yeah.
But obviously they're, chopped off. Not chopped off, they're like ripped off of the rest of her body. And yeah, it's pretty wild.
It was a wild scene. This is like you said, if you didn't think this wasn't family friendly in the beginning,
You know now.
You now know.
Yeah. And this is all within the first, I want to say 5 or 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah, very quick.
It's very fast.
Yeah.
So it's just, a crazy, crazy opening to everything. And the thing that kind of is weird to me, which you kind of learn as the show goes on, is there don't really seem to be celebrities in the show. The celebrities are the superheroes.
Yeah.
Which you find other little tidbits as time goes on, and even this first episode, as things happen, you're like, there's no, music stars or movie stars. The movie stars are the superheroes. Like when the two kids in the beginning are talking about a movie, the movie is about the deep and translucent,
and they play their own themselves in the movies. Yeah,
right.
They make the money. It's all about This is seriously, if superheroes were real, it'd probably be about the business side.
Yeah,
of it.
this is what it would be like in real life if superheroes were inserted into our lives.
They talk about points throughout the whole show, like, oh, you went up 5 points in this demographic to the superheroes all the time.
Yeah. So after that, some other stuff happens, but then we get an introduction to the next superhero we're going to meet, who is Starlight. And it starts off with like a training montage. She's doing like some one-armed pull-ups. She's punching a wall. She's lifting a car at one point. And also, and I think this is part of what is then her audition tape.
Yeah.
Because they cut to like an interview part. They're asking her some questions. And you even see her mom, who at one point when she's punching the wall, I think it's like a garage.
Yeah.
Like a detached garage.
Punch
Yeah.
through it.
And you almost get like these like dance mom type vibes from her.
Which she is very much.
You know?
A pageant dance mom. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's obviously been helping Starlight, been helping her daughter get to this point in her career as a superhero, but also as just this pageant superhero queen.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange.
It is weird.
But yeah, so you see her training, doing all this stuff, and the audition tape that she is sending in is being sent in for a very specific reason. You don't know initially what it's for, but it's a very specific reason. A little bit later, you find out then that the tape is being sent in to Vought. Vought is the company that owns the superheroes, that kind of runs things for the superheroes. And the person we mentioned at the beginning, Madeline Stillwell, she's like the public face of Vought.
She kind of runs the show a bit.
Yeah.
You'll see more later of other characters, but yeah, she basically runs the show.
Okay.
for Vought, and yeah, she's just she's a smart businesswoman.
She seems like it.
Oh yeah,
she seems like it. She seems
shisty sometimes too.
Well, yeah, definitely.
I think you gotta be.
Definitely by the end of the episode, you realize that for sure.
Oh yeah.
But then we at some point here, then we cut to a point where there's like a press conference or like an event going on, and it's very corporate. It's very almost Apple-esque.
Yeah.
It's in a big theater. There's a huge crowd.
Talking about numbers.
Right. And at this event, Starlight is being brought out in a limo, and she's like on the red carpet. So she's at this event. She goes to the red carpet. She's surprised. There's tons of people out there. They're snapping photos. She's like, is this, why are these people here? And they tell her, well, they're here for you. So they go to this event. Madeline Stillwell, she's at the podium. She's talking about numbers. She's talking about, I think, about them like opening up an amusement park. She's talking about the movies that are coming out or how well they did and all that type of stuff. And then you find out then that she's bringing out the next superhero that we see, who is the Deep.
Mm-hmm.
And this event is two things. It's one, as you talked about earlier, the announcement of the retirement of Lamplighter, right. And so they kind of just do like a quick, thank you to Lamplighter, thanks for your service, you're a great guy, say some nice words, and then immediately bring out his replacement, who we find out then is Starlight. And that's what she was sending the audition tape in for.
Yeah. And you get this vibe from Starlight throughout the whole scene of like, I'm excited, but something feels off.
Very much so.
And definitely once she gets out the limo and goes inside, I can't remember the girl's name, but she's like the PR person.
Right.
And she's like,
we're just going to call her PR lady.
PR lady. She plays a big role in this show, so she probably remember her name.
Okay.
But she says to her, like, the stuff you said about always wanting to save the little people or be a hero growing up and caring about people, that was a great choice. And Starlight kind of makes a face like, I'm mad at you for saying that. Because,
right.
And then she goes, well, I meant it. And she's like, yeah, that's why we love you. And it's like, you can tell it's like, they picked her not because they actually think she's good, like a good person.
Right.
They picked her because people like that she's a good person.
Right. And she's essentially, for them, for Vought, she's playing a role.
Right. Exactly.
Starlight is actually wanting to make a difference. She is wanting to be a superhero because she wants to help people. And, she has that very hometown, girl next door, innocent type vibe, which is what they're looking for, and that's why they chose her, it seems, anyway.
And they even mentioned demographics here, like you're already up this many points in the Midwest and between these people or something.
Right, because she's from Des Moines.
Yeah.
Iowa?
Sure.
I think so. I'm horrible with geography.
This is a TV show podcast, all right? Not a geography podcast.
But so yeah.
That was
get
creepy that we just did the same exact thing.
Yeah.
But we finished the show with her still feeling like, I don't know if I want to be here or not with this scene, because she's like waving, but she doesn't have a big smile on her face. She still looks confused.
Right.
Yeah.
We move on then to the Deep giving her kind of like a tour of their headquarters, and he takes her into what's kind of like their control room, war room, board room.
Yeah, for the Seven, which
are
Justice League, basically.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. The Seven is the Justice League of their world, and it's all the superheroes that we've mentioned so far: Homelander, Queen Maeve, Translucent, Black Noir, the Deep, Lamplighter,
Starlight,
and then Starlight.
Yeah.
So he's taking her around to their headquarters. They go into this boardroom, and he's, telling her, oh, well, we've got satellites in space to help us track people. We've got this and that. This is, you're coming into this awesome situation here.
Yeah.
And she kind of
excited again.
Yeah. She perks up a little bit. She's excited, kind of fangirls a little bit even. Because at one point he's saying like, oh, well, you probably had a poster of Homelander on your wall when you were growing up and whatever. And Homelander, again, he's the Superman guy. He seems to be like the main guy of the Seven. And she admits, she says, well, actually, I had a poster of you.
Things get hot.
I don't know if that's the word we should use to describe what happens here. But obviously then the Deep uses this to his advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he, essentially, they talk a little bit more. They cut away. Starlight's kind of looking out the window onto the city, and then they pan back out from an angle like behind the Deep, looking at Starlight. No pants on, shirt still on, no pants fully down, bare ass, tan line, tighty whitey, superhero thing, and she's just shocked.
Yeah,
and he's basically like trying to coerce her into
his instant reaction, like when she gets a little shocked. What? You said you had a crush on me?
Right, which is like your typical sleaze bag type line.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get her to,
go down
on him. Right, right. And, she's just not having it at first. She's not necessarily like mad. I think she just is shocked. She starts walking away, and he immediately like changes his mood then.
Yeah.
He pulls his pants up. He's like, "Oh,
didn't you want to be a part of the Seven?"
Yeah, he's like,
which pissed her off.
Right, and he's just like, you said you had a crush on me and whatever, and she gets upset. You start to see her eyes glow, like there's like a hum of electricity and energy going on, and the monitors that they have in there, they all start to crack, and I think this kind of scares him a bit, legitimately.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's strong.
Yeah, and so he's like, "Oh, hey, okay, I'm sorry, Obviously, I know you're a strong person. You got your power's no joke, but
I'm second in charge."
Yeah, he's basically saying like after Homelander, he's the next guy, and if you don't want to do this,
I can get kicked out.
Yeah,
say that you went crazy in here. And
yeah, he makes it seem as if everything that happened there was her attacking him, and he's trying to reel her back in to be like, look, if you don't do what I'm wanting you to do here, I'm going to make you look bad. Yeah. And I think he even says specifically, you'll be out of the business again, which is weird that like the superheroes are all just like celebrities. They're not actual superheroes. They're treating it like a job, which I guess if superheroes were in the real world, they would have to treat it like a job. And it's not like it is in comics and cartoons and stuff,
right.
But it's just still weird to me because we haven't, at least to my knowledge, I've never seen another show or comic or video game or anything where it's like this.
No.
So he's saying, I'm going to get you kicked out of the business. She, doesn't want that. She's worked so hard to get to this point.
Yeah. And I think you hit it on the head there. It's like they're not in it to save people. They're in it for themselves.
Right.
And she's the opposite. She's there, but she wants to stay to do the right thing.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
She ends up going downtown.
Yeah, she does what he wants, which, to me, it sounds like he's done this type of thing before. Like this was a rehearsed, 100%. Planned out thing.
That thing he said about you probably had a poster Homelander, that was scripted for him because he's done it before.
He's probably given this line to other superhero girls.
He's a handsome fella, and he knows.
For sure.
It, so he knows like, oh, they definitely had posters of me, not Homelander. Because Homelander, buff as he isn't like the sexy man of the group, right?
Doesn't seem like it. He doesn't have the sex appeal.
Yeah, he's not showing off bare arms in his suit.
Right, he's totally covered up. Whereas the Deep, he's got the sleeveless John.
Yeah, his stuff's cut off.
Yeah. So yeah, sleazeball of a dude. Immediately don't like him.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, and obviously you already know, but I'm hoping he gets some sort of like redemption arc. But then there's a small part of me that's like, you know what? I hope he dies like tomorrow. Disgusting. Anywho, after that, then we get into the introduction of your favorite character from the show.
Definitely one of my favorite characters.
Okay, one of.
Yeah, the characters in the show are great, but Billy Butcher.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Every time he talks, I think he's the coolest motherfucker on the planet.
Yeah.
I really do.
Well, I mean, Carl Urban is such a good actor. He's been in such awesome movies and things before.
He was in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in Lord of the Rings, the second and the third one. He was Judge Dredd.
Mm-hmm.
Early on in his career, he was Caesar on Xena Warrior Princess.
Crazy.
For those of you that even know what that is. But yeah, so Billy Butcher is introduced in another scene where they cut back to Huey.
Right.
Now, mind you, Huey is still mourning the death of his girlfriend.
And things have gone on with Huey in this episode. Like, we're not going to go through every single scene. So he's had situations where he's like kind of talking about what happened with his dad and stuff like that. And like, oh, she was a half step off the curb. And
well, at one point, Vought, they reach out to Huey because they're like trying to essentially buy him out.
Pay him off to shut his mouth about it.
Yeah.
Because
Which he doesn't go for.
Yeah. So to go with where Billy Butcher is going to go in the scene, kind of, is at one point I don't know if you have it in your listing or not, but A-Train has an interview and he's like, "Oh, I was trying to stop a bank robbery or chase down bank robbery."
Okay, yes, forgot about that.
Yeah. So one, you see,
which Huey is like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and he, by the way, A-Train had like a satchel or something on him too at that point.
Right. Yeah, I think I mentioned he had a bag on him.
Yeah. Fun fact.
But yeah, so Billy Butcher comes in where Huey's at work. He's still distraught from everything.
Yeah.
And you don't see Billy Butcher at first. It's a shot from behind him, and he has a stuffed animal nanny cam. You know, it's one of those hidden camera things. And he's just like bullshitting. He's like, how many of these nanny cams catch people, shaking their babies?
Yeah.
Which is crazy in and of itself
what
to think about.
To start,
right. Yeah. And Huey's kind of shocked from this. But he turns around, he introduces himself, and he basically tells Huey, like, hey, I know what happened. I know you weren't swayed by Vought. You didn't take the money that they were offering to you. I want to help you out.
Yeah. And I think, is it this scene that he mentions, like, here's the police report from that day?
I don't think that's till a smidge later.
Okay, so I'll hold off. I'll hold off.
Essentially, he tells Huey,
this happens all the time.
So he tells him, like, I know what happened. I want to help you out. You didn't take the payout, so let's have a conversation here about how I can help you. They start walking down the street. He tells him, he says, this kind of stuff happens all the time. And Huey's like, well, no, that's not possible. This happens all the time. There'd be tons of stories about it. People would know about it.
Yeah.
Which you find out the reason that they don't is twofold. One, because Vought, as big as they are, they're covering stuff up all the time. Obviously, if they try to pay Huey off, they've probably paid off hundreds, if not thousands of people.
Yep.
But then the other thing is, these superheroes, like I said many times here already, they're like celebrities. People don't want to see that they're bad people. They don't want to see that they're committing atrocities. So, if and when something might leak, there's no way,
it can't be true.
Somebody
it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. These superheroes wouldn't do stuff like that.
Yeah. Can we also talk about Huey's job? He can just walk out whenever he wants to go for a
walk. Right?
Like
at the beginning of the show, he walks out with Robin.
Yeah.
At this point, he's walking out with Billy Butcher. And it's like there's no other employees in the store. It's a small store.
Yeah.
He's the only one there. Is he locking up? Is he putting the "we're closed" sign on?
Yeah, right. Just
kind of strange.
I'm going to go for a walk.
But you know what, though? At the same time,
your boss doesn't give you a raise, Huey.
So at the same time, though, like, if you're in a shitty job like that,
yeah,
and your boss is a dick, and you're the only employee, like,
why not?
Why not take a risk?
And you're the only employee, and you're actually pretty good at sales. So
right.
Can't get rid of you.
So him and Billy are walking down the street. He basically tells Huey, like, hey, like, I'm the guy that steps in when the superheroes get out of line.
Yeah.
And
spanks them.
Yeah. He says I spank them. And so he's trying to convince Huey to be part of him helping put them back in line. And Huey's like, no, you're a total stranger. I don't know who you are. I'm out of here.
Feels weird.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to head back to work. And Billy just very charismatic. He tells him, like, hey, I got something that'll maybe change your mind.
Yeah.
Follows him to a second location, which was insane.
Yeah. So he follows him to a location. It's a club, obviously a secret club, because a guy like does a little slidey door thing. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, what's the password? And I forget what Billy does, but he pretty much just says, like, hey, let me in here. I'm gonna get you shut down or something. Something weird. And the guy's like, oh, again, da-da-da.
Well, and just to preface this as well, maybe the reason the guy let him in, which we didn't mention, when Billy introduces himself, he introduces himself as an FBI agent. He pulls out a badge, flashes the badge. So Huey, he's thinking, okay, well, you're some sort of official guy. Maybe you can help me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why he follows him. And maybe that's why the security dude lets him in, because he's some sort of officer, federal agent.
So as they walk in, it's like I don't want to say a fancy club, but it's a nice club. Upscale club. And the first thing you see is some dude floating in the air, and a girl's riding him in the air.
Yeah.
completely naked. You see everything.
Right.
And then you're starting to look all over the place. People are just hooking up all around, and it's different superheroes hooking up. Huey mentions a guy who is like, what's the guy from Fantastic Four?
Mr. Fantastic.
Yes, he stretches like Mr. Fantastic does. He can stretch his body like that. He goes, wow, that's that guy who's really preaching like anti-gay stuff.
Right.
But you see him take some dude's head and like put it down in his crotch.
Right.
Then he stretches over across the club and has his arm around two other dudes and they start making out. So it's like this is where the soups, as they call them, go to get their have their fun.
Their jollies.
Yeah. And then
there's one part
one
even
of
too.
my favorite parts of the show.
Is that what you're going to talk about?
Ant-Man?
Yeah.
There's a guy who's like Ant-Man, and he shrinks in, and he's on a table, and he runs across the table and dives into a girl whose legs are wide open. And you even hear like the and then she starts moaning. And it's for some reason, it is one of the funniest things to watch.
Yeah.
And he plays a big role later in the show.
Oh, okay.
Way later, though.
Okay.
So get ready to remember who he is.
All right.
Yeah.
So this is essentially just like a sex club for the soups. And
that nobody can know about, obviously.
Right. And they reveal here that A-Train was there at some point earlier, and he's laughing about what happened to Robin.
Yeah.
This is then what kind of just sparks in Huey, like, okay, you know what? Maybe I do want to help you. Maybe I do want to, get a little bit of revenge.
Yeah.
For my dead girlfriend.
Rightfully so.
So, they cut then to, I guess they go to another bar or restaurant or something. They're hanging out. This is when he gives Huey the file that says, hey, you know what? A-Train said he was trying to stop 2 bank robbers. Here's all the police reports from that day. Guess what's not there? Bank robbers.
Yep.
And, Huey's kind of just still shocked at everything that he just saw, everything he just learned. And he asks Billy, he says, are all the superheroes like this? Are all of them, terrible people? And Billy says, yeah, pretty much. Except Homelander. Homelander, he says, he doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. I think he even says at one point, like, he's a saint.
Yeah.
Which to this point in the show, we don't have any reason to believe that that's not true.
Right.
And so, he essentially tells Huey that he wants him to infiltrate into the Seven's headquarters. He wants him to plant a bug there so that they can spy on them and whatever. And Huey's just like, I don't know. This is not really my thing. I'm not James Bond here.
Right.
And, he's trying to just convince him to do this. And it's funny because at one point here, Huey says to him, like, hey, I'm not really, this isn't my thing.
Yeah, I'm not you.
Yeah. And he says, you know what kind of music I listen to? Or he says, you know who my favorite artist is? James Taylor. Which, if you don't know, James Taylor's like easy listening, very soft, mild music.
He's a vibe.
Yeah. And then he says, my second favorite then, Simon and Garfunkel. Third favorite, Billy Joel. All very similar artists.
Yeah.
Not something that, someone who takes risks in life listen to for the most part. But yeah, Homelander, he tells him this plan, and he was just not convinced. He doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to follow through with it.
Yeah.
And he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I understand why somebody like you would be hesitant. If that were me in his shoes, I would be hesitant too.
Yeah, remember, this is the guy who is afraid to ask for a raise and can't tell the boss, like, no, I want to talk right now.
Right.
How can you go into the #1 company in the world and plant a bug where there are superheroes all about?
Exactly. So, if you're somebody who likes your life and wants to live, probably not something you're going to want to partake in.
No.
We cut back then to Madeline, who, you're starting to see here and develop a sense that she's the big boss.
Yeah.
Or a big boss.
Yeah, she's cutting a deal.
Right. She's meeting with a politician who we see as the mayor of Baltimore. And essentially she's trying to sell him a superhero. Because I guess that's how it works. You are a mayor of somewhere or a governor of a state, or whatever. Vought will essentially lease you a superhero. So she says, hey, you know what? We'll give you Nubian Prince. Was it Nubian Prince?
Yeah, I think so.
Nubian Prince. We'll give you Nubian Prince for $300 million a year, which that's crazy money.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're a big city like Baltimore, you can afford that. I don't know. I don't know how much money major cities make from taxes. Either way, ton of money.
Ton.
Yeah.
And he kind of counters like, well, no. Well, okay, first of all, I want to mention she kind of sells it like, oh, well, he fits your demographic,
Right.
but also white people like him or something like that. She said,
Right.
and
She even says, "Oh, I'll cut you in on the merchandise."
yeah. So then you also get a percentage of the merchandise sales, right? So it's a real business transaction.
For sure. Very
And
corporate.
The counter was like, oh no, 200 mil because I know about something. I know about Compound V.
Right.
And that's all you hear with Compound V is that's it. It's called Compound V. What is this Compound V?
Well, and Madeline kind of just plays dumb. She's like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
In her face, you see a little bit like, uh-oh. But she's, again, very savvy.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Must be a rumor, but I can't go down to 200 mil. Like,
Yeah.
she's very, very tough.
Sticks to her guns.
Yeah.
For sure. And she's like, 300 mil is the price. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit after that, though, we see, I don't know if he was calling Madeline or Madeline calls him, but either way,
I think he calls her.
There's a scene then where the mayor, I'm guessing either later that night or the next day or whatever, he's in a limo. They have a conversation, and Madeline's like, you know what?
250.
250 is fine. That's what I'll come down to. The mayor agrees. He's like, cool, glad to do business
Thumbs
with
up.
you. Awesome.
Side note, you do see a superhero fly past the window
Yes.
when they're at Vought.
Forgot
Now,
about
granted, remember, this is where they live, so maybe somebody's just flying home. But
Could be.
you do notice that somebody flies past the window.
Yeah. So then we cut back to what kind of ends this first episode for the last, few events and things. Huey, he has a meeting with Starlight.
Yeah, by accident.
By happenstance.
Yeah.
They both happen to be on a park bench. They talk a little bit about what's troubling them, actually Starlight talks about what's troubling her. Doesn't give details, obviously.
Right.
Because he doesn't know that she's Starlight. She still has a secret identity.
Yeah.
But she gives him just broad details like, I'm having some issues at work. He hypes her up to, just push through. If this is something you really, really want, just push through.
Yeah.
Which then also kind of gives him a little bit of confidence.
Yeah.
So he
took
goes
his
back
own advice.
to Billy Butcher and says, okay, I'm in. I'm down. Let's do this. And Billy tells him, okay, here's the plan on how we're going to get the bug in there. And he goes through things. And again, Huey kind of freaks out. And he doesn't think it's going to work. But Billy calms him down. He goes in. And the plan is he's going to sneak a bug in under his cell phone case.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go up there. He's going to say, hey, I'm only going to talk to A-Train and sign this paperwork.
If he apologizes.
If he apologizes. I'll sign your paperwork. I'll take your money. He's got to give me a real, genuine apology, face to face.
Yeah.
Initially, Vought doesn't go for it. Then they do. So he gets to the headquarters, and sure enough, he gets the bug in there. And he's supposed to then go to the bathroom to get the bug out once he's in the building. This doesn't happen, though, because A-Train bursts in immediately as soon as he asks to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
A-Train is, being followed by the PR lady.
Yep.
And she's just trying to rush the whole thing.
Yeah, she wants him in and out. Like, hey, let's get done. This is a very much like I've got more important things to do with my day than apologize for me killing your girlfriend.
Yeah. And from Huey's perspective, he's kind of having this
Mental breakdown.
mental breakdown, panic attack type thing, which they had shown earlier that Huey was having a panic attack.
Yeah.
But A-Train is just covered in blood again, kind of like how he saw him after he killed Robin.
Mm-hmm.
And you start hearing his heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
You start seeing him like kind of sweat a little bit, and then he just snaps out of it.
Kind of takes a deep breath and like, okay, bam, I'm back.
Yeah.
And I forget what he says, like, hey man, no worries. You're always trying to do the right thing. Appreciate you. You know what I mean? Huey really smooths himself out like super quick.
Yeah.
To A-Train.
Which is strange because up until this point, Huey is not a confident guy. Huey is not a put together guy. He's not someone who, you think is going to be able to pull this off.
Right.
And he just snaps out of it, which was a little strange to me because I'm like, what changed here? Because everything up to this point, when he's faced with some sort of altercation or some sort of adversity, he folds, he crumbles, or he doesn't want to follow through with stuff. But in this moment, he rises to the occasion. And I had a theory or a thought maybe like, does he eventually become a superhero? Does he get superpowers. Obviously, you know what does or doesn't happen, but that's kind of where my head was going.
Like he has them, he just hasn't shown them yet. Like he doesn't know he has them.
Either that he has them already, or maybe he gets them later. Because it's like, you see him turning from this, mild mannered guy to this super confident guy in a matter of seconds. And I'm thinking, like, are they building his character up for something? Even in just this first episode, are they laying the foundation, the groundwork for, moving forward?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, you do know,
well,
but
maybe there's still a lot more of the show left that I haven't watched, right?
So
when I see this, I just see a character development of like, I'm this little bitch. He's like, I can't be a little bitch right now.
Right.
And he finally toughens up and does what he has to do.
Yeah.
So he does plant the bug. But to get to this point, he had to go to the bathroom. He asked to go to the bathroom after A-Train leaves.
Right.
He does fumble. He goes back to old Huey. He fumbles the bug in the bathroom. I think even at one point, Starlight's in the bathroom. But
right. She's like touching up her makeup.
Yeah.
He's in the stall. She's at the
mirror.
At the mirror.
Yeah. And anyway, so he fumbles. He gets the bug back into underneath the stall with him. He has it in his hand. Closes his phone. He's ready to go. He leaves the bathroom to go plant the bug.
Right.
But it turns out
somebody else was in the bathroom besides Starlight and Huey.
Translucent.
Right.
Because he's invisible.
Yeah.
And which earlier in the episode, you find out he kind of likes to be in the bathroom invisible because he's a perv.
Yeah.
Not real important, just kind of connect those two details that to kind of help you say, oh, I see this coming.
Right. Right.
But he does plant the bug and he gets out of there.
Yeah. He's feeling good about himself.
Feeling real cocky. You kind of see it, and then when they're riding home, Billy's giving him a little ride back to the store that apparently he can just leave it at a moment's notice.
Again, he's
hours.
leaving work.
Yeah,
for like the third or fourth time.
It was daylight when he went to go plant the bug. It was nighttime when he gets back to work. So he's gone for hours, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go back to work." And Billy's dropping him off, and Huey's pumped. He's like, "All right, what's our next step? What are we gonna do, partner?" You know what I mean? And Billy's like,
We're good.
We're good. Thank you for doing that,
Yeah.
And it's kind of where you get the vibe that Billy's not a bad guy, but he kind of uses people.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I got what I needed from you.
He was just a means to an end.
Yeah. So yeah, he drops him off, and that was kind of like, he was kind of down about it, but he's also like, okay, fine. And
at least I'm getting somewhere.
Yeah. He did
with my girlfriend's horrific death.
Horrific. But then he also rips up the check that they gave him, $45,000.
Which, I would not have done.
No.
Even if I was trying to get that revenge and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm cashing that check.
Yeah, that's my money.
That's $45K.
Yeah. That's the least you can give me. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to get more out of you. But,
right.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done it either. But that kind of something clicks in Billy, and he calls him your good guy or good bloke or whatever.
Right.
I forget what he says, but that's important to notice. Like Billy kind of goes, "Okay, this kid's a good kid," I think that's a big part of the show for Billy. But anyway, go on. Now we got Huey chilling.
Yeah, he's at work. He's hanging out. His boss is leaving, which I guess he's okay with him having been gone for hours.
Mm-hmm.
His boss is leaving. He says, "Lock up when you leave." The door starts to close, but then it stops, and it's just standing there still. Huey hears the little ding-a-ling on the door. He's like, I think he says, like, we're closing up soon or something like that, whatever. But the door closes, and Huey looks over. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
He's looking around the store. He starts to hear, like, some rustling, and then all of a sudden a voice. And clearly it's translucent.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Oh, clearly.
But he tells him, like, what were you doing at our headquarters? Are you spying on us? He even throws the bug out to him. He's like, what? You didn't think I'd find this?
You know what I mean?
He's questioning him. What's going on? Huey is trying to play dumb. Translucent's not buying it.
No.
Picks him up, throws him against the wall, into like a wall of TVs, smashes the TVs. He's like hitting him a little bit, throws him to the front of the store. Huey's banged up.
Yeah.
Translucent grabs a TV off the wall, and he's like about to like smash it on Huey, which no doubt would probably kill him.
Smash him on his head, probably kill him.
Yeah,
100%. And one of my favorite scenes in the show, because of how well it's done,
right,
is you see, it turns out it's Billy Butcher's car, run through the front of the store, hits this invisible guy, and you see just shelves get knocked in like half and fall over, and then you see as if a human that you could see is hitting these things and then hit the wall.
Right.
And the CGI is just really cool. I don't know how they do it, but I thought it looked awesome because it's like
For
a domino effect. It's like bam, 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 and then the wall.
Right.
And Billy's here to save the day.
Yeah. He tells Huey, "Hey, I've got it from here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here." Which at this point, I'm kind of thinking, okay, was this whole situation planned? Was he just using Huey to get to this point where he could fight Translucent? Was the bug even real? Because when you look at it, it looks like a pog.
Yeah.
It looks like just a little coin with an adhesive end on it.
I don't know. Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, was he just using Huey as bait, essentially, to get to this point?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if they reveal it later, but that's what it kind of seemed like.
Right. But
So Huey, he's like, okay, I'm getting out of here.
Good call.
I'm leaving, and he's going out like the back door of the store. But he kind of pauses for a moment.
He does. And while he's pausing and thinking, we get Billy Butcher fighting, which is cool because he has a crowbar and he's ready to freaking go to town.
Yeah.
And he's talking shit on this superhero.
Right. But he can't see him, obviously.
And he's getting his ass whooped.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting his ass whooped, but he's not like caring. He's just fighting. And at one point, you can see he's got blood coming out of his mouth. He's getting beat the heck up. And he tries to swing a punch and his right arm gets grabbed. And then he tries to swing a left punch and his left arm gets grabbed. And then you see him smile. I'm like, oh, he's going to headbutt him because obviously he knows he's right in front of him.
Right.
That's not what he does. He spits blood towards the right, and you see, or maybe it's
no, he spits it right in his face.
Right in his face. So
yeah.
You see the outline of Translucent's face. And as they keep fighting,
he keeps spitting blood on him.
Yeah.
So he can see more of him.
Left hand, so he can now dodge the swings. And now all of a sudden,
it's a little bit more fair of a fight.
Pretty fair fight.
Now, Translucent, obviously a superhero.
Yeah.
Obviously, probably has some more training. But then also he's tough. He's got that skin that allows him to be translucent is also more durable. Yeah, it's unbreakable, I guess.
Yeah.
So the even though Billy's landing some blows now, not really doing a whole lot to him. I mean, he just got hit by a car and got up and was fighting.
And is fighting and squaring
so
up.
So he's super durable, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, the fight continues. Billy gets knocked down, and at that point, it seems like Translucent's probably about to like deliver a final blow, maybe. And my favorite part about Billy in this moment is that even though he's getting the shit beat out of him,
talking shit,
even though he's about to probably get killed, he's talking shit to the bitter end. And he says a line where he's like, your name doesn't even make sense. Translucent doesn't even mean invisible. It means semi-transparent.
Yeah.
Which is fitting at that point because Billy's on the floor and he sees through Translucent that Huey has now re-entered the scene.
Yeah.
He's like army crawling
out of
back into the store.
Yeah. And he gets to the wall where the TVs were. There's an open cable wire or electric wire.
Right.
Just sitting there.
And it's sparking a little bit.
Yeah. To let you know, like, hey, it's live, right?
Yeah.
And he starts to grab it and pull it towards Translucent.
Because he wants to electrocute him.
But it doesn't go too far.
Right, yeah. Very short cord.
So it kind of like turns like this really happy moment. You're like, oh, fuck. Like, he's screwed.
Yeah, you thought he's about to save the day, but he didn't.
Then turns around because Billy kind of makes a face or something and sees him. And he's like getting ready to go mess up Huey. And Billy kicks him. And
pushes him just far enough
that the electrical cord hits him right in the butt cheek.
Yeah, you start to see like the outline of his body as it's getting electrocuted.
Yeah.
And like you see like the butt cheeks there. Yeah. And I'm like, there is mad nudity in the show, which I shouldn't have been surprised because like at the beginning when they show like adult content, adult language or whatever, nudity right there. I just didn't expect this much nudity.
Extreme sexual content or something like that is one of the terms they use.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's, at this point, there's essentially like a rape pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
A forced sexual encounter, a sex club.
Yeah, basically an orgy.
With essentially an orgy. And now this invisible naked guy.
Which you've seen him fully nude earlier in the show.
Right.
As well. It's just the whole thing for almost no reason, but it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he electrocutes him. Turns out that the body that he has, the material it's made out of, it's like mentioned on Jimmy Fallon earlier in the show, and Huey knows that
it's some carbon material, and he's like, oh, well,
it conducts electricity or whatever.
Right, and he shocks him.
Well, they think they kill him.
Yeah, they kill him, and he was just like, whoa, what's going on? And Billy's just like, okay, well, we got to get rid of this body. you start to hear like sirens going on, police sirens, and he was like, "Whoa, well, I mean, you're an FBI. You're an FBI guy. Like, we're good. This guy attacked us.
You're FBI.
Talk to the cops. We're fine." And that's when Billy pretty much reveals like he's not actually an FBI agent.
No. And I think Huey even goes, "Then who are you?"
Right.
And that's kind of how the show ends. They're getting ready to put Translucent in the trunk.
One last scene after.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Which is important and pivotal, in my opinion, to one of the characters here.
Yeah.
So yeah, he says, "Who are you?" Cuts to the next scene. Now I want to preface this. We forgot to mention earlier when Madeline and the mayor of Baltimore were initially meeting at the Vought headquarters. She gives him a signed picture of Homelander.
Yeah.
The next scene, the ending scene of the show here, then, it focuses in on an airplane where you see the mayor and his son and his staff and whatever, the kids admiring this signed picture of Homelander.
Yeah.
And plane gets a little turbulent, which if you've ever been on a plane before,
it happens.
It happens. You know, it's not uncommon. Sometimes turbulence can be pretty rough. Sometimes it's just a little bump in the road if you're like on a bus.
Yeah.
You know, the kid's kind of scared. Maybe it's his first flight. I don't know. But the mayor's like, "It's just a little turbulent. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good." But then there's some more turbulence. And the kid gets scared again. He's kind of shaken up. He starts to look out the window. And he sees something. He's like squinting, looking out the window. And then he kind of like gets a little excited.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to his dad. He's like, "Dad, what's he doing out there?" And they pan over and you see Homelander's just flying next to the plane.
Yeah. And the mayor's like, what is he doing?
Yeah, he's surprised. He's like, and maybe, you know, maybe you're thinking initially like, oh, he's just giving him like an escort or something like that, you know, whatever. Not the case. They go out and you can see kind of the reflection of Homelander in the window. So they're looking into the plane, looking at the kid. The reflection is there. You see the silhouette of like Homelander flying, and then you see his eyes start to glow.
Yep.
And then he just obliterates the plane.
Splits it right in half.
Laser vision cuts the plane in half. It goes down.
Yeah. And I think this is, like you
End
said,
of the show.
Very important because...
Well, to this point, everyone thinks Homelander's like this, you know, Jesus, God-like dude who's perfect and doesn't do anything wrong. When clearly he's okay with just murdering people.
Not only that, a kid.
Right. A kid.
Who admires him, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he just straight up just...
murders him. Done. The whole plane goes down. That's the end of the show. They go back to Homelander, and he's just kind of floating there in the air, just like, did what I had to do.
Yep. All right. It's over.
Yeah.
And yeah, it flashes and the show's over, and that's it.
Goes to the credits.
Yeah. So maybe he's not a saint.
Clearly not. Clearly not. I mean, the show was great the whole way through. It definitely has parts that hook you. It has some hills and valleys, which I think a show like this kind of needs. You know, you don't want to be just on an uphill adrenaline rush the whole time. Parts of it were a little predictable, in my opinion, but overall, still a good show. Still a good show.
Great for a first episode.
If you had to say your favorite part of the entire show, what would you say?
Honestly, I think it has to be that fight with Translucent.
Okay.
Just because, one, when it starts, like I said, the CGI is pretty cool, and you see him going through everything in the building. But then it's like, you realize Billy Butcher doesn't quit. You know, he has all the confidence in himself, even though he's fighting a superhero. And he finds a way.
Yeah, he's just a regular dude.
Yeah. And again, CGI for the fight's great, but it's also like he finds a way, he spits blood, he does all this stuff. And you kind of see, again, another moment where Huey's like, stop being a little bitch here.
Right.
And help out. So that's probably my favorite part.
Okay, nice.
And the music during that was great.
Well, so my favorite part of the whole show was the music throughout the episode. Like, not just the stuff that they wrote for the show, that, you know, the fanfares of the superheroes and everything, but even like the licensed music that they had throughout the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
The music that they have at the ending credits there, it's an Iggy Pop song. The music throughout the whole thing was awesome. Every licensed piece of music they had kind of fit the moment really, really well.
I think you're going to like the music throughout the whole show.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's going to be your thing for this for sure.
So on the flip side of that, what would you say, if you have one, what was your least favorite part of the show?
Least favorite part of the show, it sucks because I like the actor, but Huey's dad. And I know we didn't touch on it too much,
Right.
but you only had a few scenes with him. And the one scene, he makes it awkward right after Robin's funeral. He's kind of he says, "Oh, it was great food there."
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
He's not really concerned for Huey's feelings.
No. And then there's two parts where I hate. One, he tells, like, Huey's starting to, like, figure out, like, maybe we can find a way to fight this.
Right.
I just need sign off from Robin's parents and a couple other things. And he's like, you don't have the fight. Neither do I. So he's, like, telling Huey, you're a little bitch. Again, he's, like, this Huey's, like, thing he's trying to fight against being.
Well, and you kind of get the sense then of where Huey gets his lack of confidence from.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, chances, I forget what happens to his mom, but it's like, probably left. You know what I mean? And the other thing I hate that he said is he goes, take the money. It'll be good. It's a lot of money for us. He didn't say it's a lot of money for you to Huey. He said
Right.
It's a lot of money for us. So I know we didn't touch on it this episode, but there were small things in this episode about the dad that, like, well done as a show, but I just disliked because I hate it. Honestly, every scene he was in, I just got mad.
Yeah.
Because the way he just carried himself and did everything, which solid acting, but I just hated the character.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I would say my least favorite thing is, you know, I'm almost getting a Game of Thronesy type vibe that, and it's I don't even want to say it's a bad thing about the show necessarily, but it doesn't seem like there's any good people like anywhere. You know, the superheroes, from what we're seeing, are for the most part clearly all maybe not evil, but bad people.
Right. Yeah.
You know, Vought, the company, obviously bad people there.
Yeah.
They're okay with just like offing people, politicians, you know, using people, paying people off for stuff. Billy, yes, he's a good guy, but he's like doing bad things to accomplish good stuff. You know, so even he's kind of tainted. And even to a small extent, in my opinion, Huey, like he's not all good. Like he also was in on doing some bad stuff. Yes, for a good cause, but it's like, is anyone like good? Like there's no truly good person. The only person that's even like close is Starlight.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't done anything bad yet. She's had bad stuff done to her. She's the only one that's kind of like a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm kind of just like, is anyone good in this show? You know, and obviously we'll find out later, but yeah.
I can get that. Yeah.
So we want to hit everybody with what we're calling small screen scoop.
Ah, yes.
So we're going to hit you, you know, some fun facts, maybe some details that you might have missed, some interesting things about this episode and or the show in general. So the first one I've got here is regarding the opening scene with the armored car. The CGI, like we mentioned earlier, in that is amazing. Crazy visuals, and the shooting of it, just this one scene, which, you know, lasted, you know, a couple of minutes, if that, took them 3 days to shoot it.
Insane.
So you're thinking, okay, you're spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day shooting, if not more.
Yeah.
And they're doing all that over 3 days for one scene that was a couple of minutes. Not to mention then afterwards, months and months of editing, all that CGI.
Oh, yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Touching on Huey's dad, you had mentioned, you know, you like the actor. Huey's dad is played by Simon Pegg, which, if you don't know him, he's from a bunch of stuff. Shaun of the Dead, Star Trek, Hot Fuzz. Great actor. Generally speaking, a comedic actor for the most part. Very lighthearted guy. For the most part, always plays like a good guy, a good person. You know, not so much here. Fun fact about Simon Pegg. He was the original inspiration for the character Huey in the comics, or at least his likeness.
Right.
When the boys' comics were being drawn, the person who was drawing Huey drew him like Simon Pegg.
That's pretty cool.
So it's kind of cool to have that connection, that full circle.
Yeah. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we got here? So this is kind of just a fun fact, or a little tidbit, an Easter egg, if you will, from the scene that Huey was talking with his dad about taking the payoff from Vought. They're arguing, whatever, blah, blah. And the whole time, Huey's dad is watching a show on the TV. And at the end of it, when they end the argument, you know, whatever, Huey's dad is like, you know, just come on, sit down. Let's watch TV here. Remington Steele is on. I don't really know much about Remington Steele. I know it's an old show that that was starring Pierce Brosnan.
Okay.
But the show that's actually on the TV is not Remington Steele. Like, Remington Steele is a real show. And the show that Huey's dad is watching is also a real show, but the show that his dad is watching is actually T.J. Hooker, which is an old cop drama from the 80s starring William Shatner. So that's just kind of weird that I don't know if that was on purpose that they named the show.
Or it was a mistake, right?
Yeah, or if it was a mistake. But then also kind of like maybe it was real because they have that connection with William Shatner, Star Trek, Simon Pegg, Star Trek. I don't know.
Okay.
This was probably my favorite little small screen scoop of the entire show. So at one point we mentioned that Huey listens to like soft music. James Taylor, Billy Joel, Simon and Garfunkel, all very similar, all very kind of easy listening for the most part. Great artists, by the way.
Yeah.
I love James Taylor, Simon and Garfunkel, and Billy Joel. But if you're looking closely at what Huey is wearing throughout the show, he's wearing shirts, band shirts, but not for his favorite artists. At one point, he's wearing a Nirvana shirt, and another point, he's wearing the Ramones, a shirt for the Ramones.
So you have like what, grunge and
pop punk,
and
or a punk, original punk, very much not like the music that he listens to.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
I think that is on purpose, and there's an importance to it.
For sure. There probably is. And then the last thing I've got is Translucent is not actually an original character from the comics. He was written into the show by Eric Kripke.
Yeah.
So if you were somebody who watched the show after having read the comics and you're wondering, well, who's this guy? Where's he from? That's where he's from. They wrote him into the show. He wasn't part of the original comic, but still a cool character.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all we've got for the first episode here. Pretty in-depth episode to start the show off.
Yeah.
Got a lot of new characters, got a lot of background on a few of them. I'm excited to see what comes next and to get more on the characters we've met.
I think the next
I'm assuming we're going to get more characters, obviously.
You get some more characters. Next episode you meet probably my favorite character.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm interested to see then.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you thought about the show. Join us in our discussion on Facebook. Find us on Facebook, Small Screen Couch Commentary. Join us in our Facebook group, Small Screen Couch Commentary Podcast. We want to start building a community here of people who are going to be watching this show as we're releasing episodes, as well as when the newest season comes out. We want to be talking about it, getting your take on things.
Yeah. You could either do what I'm doing, rewatching it along with us, and kind of
watching it for the first time.
Or watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
And kind of talking along with us. We can all kind of share our thoughts on that.
But also check us out on TikTok and on YouTube as well. We're going to be uploading some clips from the podcast of some cool moments. Maybe we'll do some other stuff on the TikToks as well. And I'm hoping we're going to, youngish.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping we'll be able to upload full episodes of the podcast on YouTube. But yeah, let us know what you think. We want to start to engage with you guys. We want to start getting recommendations from you on other shows to watch for future episodes. We're going to try and start, with the boys here and branch out into other shows as we get caught up with this. Maybe we'll just do some fun little quick hits on some TV shows.
Quick hitters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But check us out. Subscribe to us on your favorite area where you catch podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, iHeart, whatever it is. And if you don't mind, give us a little review. Let us know what you think of this first episode. Continue to engage with us. Let us know what you think of future episodes.
You pretty much hit every nail on the head on that one, buddy.
I try to hit all the boxes.
I think you checked them all.
I sure did.
Way to go.
But yeah, thanks for joining us on this first episode of the Small Screen Couch Commentary, The Boys. And we will see you next week. Episodes drop every Sunday, so tune back in. We are hoping by the time you were listening to this, we've actually got the first 2 episodes out. Kind
of like The Boys.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And then just continue to listen from there. Alrighty, folks. We'll see you.
Peace.